Welcome to Talkin Badgers on After Dark, our special weekly episode where we crack open a couple of beverages and let our hair down. I am joined by three excellent co-hosts tonight, the first of which we will bring on now, our intrepid entrepreneur, founder of BeverageNotes.com, who understood the assignment. Dylan Graff, what you got for a beverage tonight?
Drinking Busch Lights. I went into the crisper, took a look out of varsities. We're out of Yellow Jackets right now. There's no Coors Banquet, so it's going to be a bullpen game over here.
Stretched thin. I myself, in honor of the top of the preseason poll, we got a Penn's best in honor of our Nittany Lion friends. But to balance it out, we're rocking the koozie for our favorite former Regent Street bar, Buckingham's. May it rest in peace for all time. We're going to bring in our second co-host. Yeah, Jason, who also understood the assignment. Jason, how you doing tonight?
Good, fellas. What's going on? Double fisting actually now because I wanted to crack one now that I saw Dylan do it.
It fit the vibe. It was very good. And now, because we are such dry, boring, low energy losers, lacking any sense of personality, we had to bring in a ringer. It is Frozen Pizza Cooper.
What's up, boys?
He's back.
Jason, I am also double fisting because I saw Dylan crack a fresh beer. Boys, we're on the high life light tonight, trying to watch the figure a little bit, but
the high life light is I am a fan. I like that. These like domestics that bring in one of these lighter versions of itself from time to time, like the PBR Easy to now the Pabst Light kind of thing. I'm a fan of. The High Life Light is excellent.
A Pabst Light seems like really like an oxymoron. Like a Pabst is supposed to be like a dinner beer. Something that's going to fill you up, get you the calories and nutrients you need.
It's like a Foster's Light.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to be a light beer.
Fair enough.
Also, Kendrick, I'm glad you're off the passion fruit rum. I was about to be like, what are your pronouns, dog? Like, what are we doing?
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, man.
This is what people wanted.
It's in jest.
The problem with the passion fruit rum is eventually you just start like chewing sunflower seeds basically at the bottom. I'm just like eating a passion fruit by the end of it, which is not something I'm up for. Okay, but we got a jam-packed show tonight. We're going to do an hour on the newest Wisconsin football quarterback to make a 53-man roster. As we all expected, Graham Mertz, the most accomplished quarterback since Russell Wilson in Wisconsin football history.
My king.
I only realized this like 10 minutes before we started, and I've been sitting here jaw agape since. Guys, any thoughts? Graham Mertz making a 53, first guy out of the program since Russell Wilson.
I saw his first preseason game, I think it was, when he was just absolute dog shit, and I thought he was going to get cut like the next day. So the fact that he then had a decent final preseason game and then made the roster, it was like, wow.
That's the mental fortitude you're looking for. I saw the same thing and was like, oh, that's going to be tough to bounce back from.
Let's hope CJ Stroud doesn't get hurt ever. Nobody has to watch Graham Mertz play football in the NFL.
Yeah. When I saw he made a roster, I was like, dude, I mean, I can sling it like 45 yards. Let's see what we can go do. Hey, shout out to Graham Mertz, though. I hated plenty on him, and yeah, good for him for reaching the league. Yeah.
Yeah, he might not have lived up to the hype, but he got better, every year. He had to endure the coaching change. He tried his hand in the portal, had a hell of a year at Florida, battled back from injury. By all accounts, was a terrific leader there, even after injury. Good for him, man. Obviously didn't pan out the way that we all hoped and dreamed that it might. But
I'm confident. I tweeted last year to bring Graham Mertz back for senior day, and I don't think anybody did that. So
I mean, yeah, I will say, good for him, but fuck him too, because like, where was this at UW?
We did make it longer into the show before we had to tab the explicit tab on the.
Yeah, my bad.
It's all good, all good.
You should have hit that shit before we went live, dude. That should have been preemptive.
All right, let's move from the air to the ground, as Wisconsin is trying to do on offense this upcoming year. where I have tried as the undisputed, at least per the written depth chart, RB1 in Madison. There's been no first or second year player to find himself to that top line of the 2 deep since Jonathan Taylor. Dylan, do you think it is an overreaction to start asking the question already, even though he only has 16 carries to his name, if whether or not Dilin Jones could be the next great Wisconsin Badgers?
I'm going to say no, it is not an overreaction, but I do want to kind of clarify what I think I mean by that. In camp, in the practices that we were able to take in, I think it's super clear that Dilin Jones is the guy. The year-to-year growth that he's had, kind of his fit in this scheme, the things he does well, I think all pair incredibly well. I will not be remotely surprised to see him run for 1,000 yards this year and just kind of be that bell cow kind of guy. Now, before I say, like, is he the next great one? Obviously I'm not prepared to define what that looks like. At Wisconsin, that's very different. But I think we could be a year early on anointing him the next, like, great. I think he's going to be the next really good one this year. Super productive. And I think we'll have us kind of dreaming on what could be next year as some sort of, like, really big breakout. But I'm incredibly high on Dilin Jones for this year. I think he's going to be the first 1,000-yard rusher of the Luke Fickell era. Of his 88 rushing yards last year, 80 of them came after contact. Not a huge guy, but someone who's definitely not going to shy away from it. I know, big fan of his game. I think he can catch passes adequately well. I don't know. I just don't see any major holes in his game. And if the offensive line in front of him is healthy, I see a 1,000-yard rusher. I guess I'm going to say no. I don't think it's too early.
The thing is, I mean, what is he, 205 pounds? Probably plays like he's 215 though. Like, not worried about his size. One thing though, Dylan, like you said, offensive line staying healthy. I mean, we already lost Big Kev, which is an absolutely horrendous situation. I agree with you. I think he'll eclipse the 1,000-yard mark if he stays healthy, just because of the volume he's probably going to get. Trying to find some touchdown props for him this week. We'll see how that goes. Honestly, I was really prepared for, like, Ryan to be on here and just give me a bunch of reasons why Cade Yakimelli should start over Dilin Jones. So that's most of my notes.
Let's hear it.
No. Fire him off. Rapid fire.
I'm good. That's a me and Ryan deal. But I mean, I'm excited about Dilin Jones. I'll say that.
What I thought was, like, really cool. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I'm just another thing. Like, if you look at last season, like, I also was ready for Ryan if he swang the other way and was like Dilin Jones averaged 5.3 yards a carry. It's like, yeah, well, he had a 47-yard run against Purdue, and his next longest run was 6 yards against South Dakota. So now I know I'm always the proponent of people are like, oh, well, he had 200 rushing yards, but one of them was 97 yards. If you take that away, his yards per carry weren't that great. It's like, well, yeah, he had a 97 fucking yard rush though. So like, I get that's part of it, but still, like, I was very, very ready to argue with Ryan about that if you brought it up, where he had that one big run against Purdue, but other than that, we didn't see a lot of explosive plays. I think that had a lot to do with the system though, and just the overall morale of the team last year probably was not great. So sorry, Jason, go ahead.
No, you're good. What I was going to say is what I think is notable is, like, obviously he came in with his recruiting class had multiple running backs, Gideon Atuka and Darian Dupree. And then last year, maybe intentional, they used Dupree more. And maybe that was to preserve Dilin Jones's red shirt, because now he is a redshirt freshman. I think they have Dupree listed as a sophomore because he played in more than 4 games. And like I said, maybe that was intentional, but with, like, the NIL era and the transfer portal, it's like you can't really count on preserving someone's red shirt, I don't think. So then for him to, like you said, Ked, like, far and away be the running back one on the depth chart, like they always typically do, and we didn't even see Jonathan Taylor with that. I think that stands out a lot, which means, like, the staff really believes in him, and Wisconsin hasn't had a bell cow since Jonathan Taylor. So, like, feed him, like especially in these first 2 games, like get him 20 plus carries. Like we don't see the Badgers, and yeah, that's harder to do in today's era. Guys get worn down and stuff, but like I would love to see the Badgers just feed one guy the ball 25 times and let him go off.
That I would be bricked up, dude.
Jay, you mentioned the rarity, given that even Jonathan Taylor was up there with an or. I managed to do some capital R hashtag research. I found
you had me worried there for a second, dog. You had me worried. You had to click explicit for me, dude.
Comedy's illegal now. Elon Musk told me. Does anybody want to take a stab at the last time a first or second year player was alone in the RB1 slot before week 1 at Wisconsin?
PJ Hill.
No, you're too far back.
I listened to your show this morning.
I didn't say it,
but
it is 2009. It is John Clay, who was RB1 as a sophomore. That is the last time a first
one of the highest ranked recruits
player
the Badgers have ever had
has ever been RB1 with a bullet on their own. That's 2009 Offensive Player of the Year in the Big Ten, by the way.
He was a blast to watch, man. I mean, he was the quintessential Wisconsin running back at that point. Like, there was no flash. He was just going to run through a motherfucker's face and go get 5-6 yards every time. And the Hogs in front of him were going to pave the way.
He's tremendous. Let's leave it before we move on to our next topic here. This would place him 15th all time in Wisconsin career rushing yards. Is Dilin Jones a 3,000 yard career rusher? Let's do. I'm gonna say no.
I would also say no. I think that if he has the 2-year run here that you're hoping for, then it's NFL before he gets that opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be called a fake fan here because we're not just ultra positive, but
saying your bell cow running back's going to go to the NFL next year,
right? That's a good point. Yeah, I think it would be too hard because I think a good season is a good season for him this year is just over 1,000 yards or something. Like having him more than that would be really impressive, and then to do that again, and I don't know, 2 years in a row of 1,500 plus yards or 1,500 yards just seems unlikely.
Yeah, I think it's like either he's not productive enough to hit it in his 4 years of eligibility, or so productive that he goes to the league.
Right.
I think you got to thread a needle to make 3,000 plus happen.
Are we talking about all of those yards at the University of Wisconsin? Because what if we only win 4 games this season and he's like, fuck this, or the coaching staff gets fired and he goes to, I don't know, like Oregon or some shit like that?
Well, it's not the Wisconsin Badgers record book.
That's true.
So.
True. I mean, do I hope he does? Do I hope he does? Sure. But like the same thing is like, do I hope he doesn't and is really awesome and just go to the NFL? Yes.
Yeah.
I think if he plays all 4 years with the Badgers as RB1, yes, he will eclipse that mark.
Yeah, that sounds right to me. Okay. Coop, you mentioned some of the O-line, if it stays healthy, but one guy already down. You and Dylan touched on this a little bit. And the Kevin Haywood injury. I look at the offensive line and the defensive line, and I kind of have questions about which unit is better suited to make it through 12 games. And I think here is a great place to start inserting some more specifics into the conversation about the game fewer than 48 hours from now against Miami, which returns no starters on its offensive line, by the way. For a unit that gave up the fewest sacks in the Big Ten last year, that returns 3 starters in Wisconsin's offensive line, versus the unit that was 120th in sacks as a team and last in the FBS for TFLs, I think you can make an argument reasonably that the depth on the defensive line this year is better than last year, whether you believe it or not. Coop, I saw you nodding your head. What are your thoughts? If you have to pick one unit from not today, but to go forward 12 games from now to the end of Minnesota, which unit do you think looks more impressive at the end of the season, the offensive line or the defensive line?
I think the defensive line, and Dylan and I kind of touched on this when we were together on Saturday, and I thought it was a great point. Like, do I think maybe the first team O-line is stronger than our first team D-line? Sure. But if we get an injury from our first 5 O-line, I mean, we got Ben Schwall, but other than that, can we trust anyone else on the offensive line that we have to put in the game? And I think on defense, I mean, I don't know, maybe you could make the same argument, but I'd feel a little more comfortable with some of the second team guys on defense than I would on offense. I mean, and the thing is too, with all the ors, like, what is it, Suggs or was it Brandon Lane, Ben Barton or Parker Peterson. So, like, to me, you got, okay, so there's 4 guys there for 2 positions. So I feel like we have a little more depth maybe on the defensive line than we do offense. I think if we get anything past this first team, besides Ben Schwall, who we've seen play plenty of games before, I'm worried.
That feels right to me. Like, I don't know that they have a great answer if the right tackle goes down. Dylan?
I fall in a very similar place. I like kind of Coop mentioned, I would say that I think that if all things are equal, if injuries don't factor in, I would take the offensive line. I do have some serious questions about Davis Heinzen's ability to hold up as a pass protector. He doesn't really bring prototypical length to the position. I understand you can't get too nitpicky given the situation. I mean, he there's some really encouraging things about him as well. He's athletic, but as far as depth goes, I mean, I think that the replacement level production, or what I believe the next man up would give you on the defensive line, I would feel a lot better about there not being a significant drop off, as opposed to if you look at the offensive line, if health is equal, like Kerry Kadanko is probably your preferred at all 3 interior spots. I think you feel okay about, I think I would feel fine about him stepping in for any of them. But at tackle, are you rolling with Benshaw? Are you rolling with Leighton Nelson? Honestly, the answer is probably Kadanko comes in and a guard goes out, is probably what they have to do. And now you've gotten weaker at arguably 2 positions. And so because of that, like, I have to probably roll with the defensive line depth here, because I feel like, you take a guy like Barton off and you bring in, like, you just have enough options there. You have Suggs, you have Perkins, there's enough people there, Lane, Dylan Johnson, who have all gotten bigger, stronger, Parker Peterson, like, they have guys with size, with experience. The returning pieces have gotten bigger and stronger. I just think the replacement level value at defensive line is better to me than what they would have to do to probably shuffle on the offensive line.
Yeah, and like you said, Dylan, if we have to move a guard to tackle, that's got to be Brunner, right? I don't know if Mandel can play tackle. Like we were talking about this week, can he pass block? Let's find out. It's going to be great. And then too, like, we're talking about health. I mean, with Renfro, do we really think Renfro is going to last 12 games?
He did last year.
He concerns me, man. Injury history concerns me.
Jay, you have thoughts?
Here's why I disagree with all of you.
Yeah.
Because I think schematically the offense is so much different than it was last year. That
Which is true.
The offensive line isn't being asked to go fast. The offensive line isn't being asked to not huddle. The offensive line isn't being asked to pass protect 30 times a game. Like, I think it's easier to run block than pass block. I don't think you would argue that, Coop. I think you lean on some guys, you wear them down throughout the game. I think the offensive line throughout the season will be able to build confidence. And I'm curious, and this is more of a question. Also, you might all feel differently about it, but we've seen the ors plenty of times, him or him in the depth chart. If you have 8 options at D-line, do you have any options at D-line? It's the same argument that they have in that position every year. Like, if you have a quarterback battle, do you have any quarterback? So like, and a lot of the guys outside of Parker Peterson were on the roster last year too, and they had the worst they had the worst defensive line pretty much in college football almost. So why they weren't giving these guys opportunities last year? Do we really think one season? And hopefully, yes. Like, I'm optimistic about the defensive line because of like the depth, like you guys said, but the depth was the same guys that were there last year essentially, and not a lot of so I'd like to see change there, but I think schematically, offensively, the offensive scheme is better, and that's where I think the offense, I have more trust in the offensive line right now to hold up throughout the season than I do the defensive line. I need to see the defensive line, I feel like, do it, which I know people hate to say that you need to see it happen.
Yeah.
But
I don't necessarily.
That's why I differ.
Like, I don't necessarily disagree, but I think like my thing is that we kind of alluded to already. Like, if we have a major injury on the offensive line compared to the defensive line, I think we're in a lot more trouble.
Just turn injury sliders all the way down.
The staff would have benefited greatly from somebody.
Yeah.
A little bit of foresight there would have went a long way.
Well, like nothing against the fellas, but if we have to put Colin Coverley or Ryan Corey in a game, how confident are you feeling?
Yeah, but I'm just hoping that I don't have any injuries, I guess. We'll see.
In football.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I definitely agree, I think, with most of the conversation here. Does anybody feel for Jay, your thought of, if you have, 8 D linemen, do you have any against a Miami of Ohio O-line that returns no starters, returns a total of 3 starts ever in college football? Is this kind of a prove it game for you for that top of the line?
Yes. At least
that's
one or two people need to look like an all-world type player. Like,
I mean, I agree. Ultimately, like you have to stop the run. I mean, especially like this staff has done an excellent job of painting a target on their own back by telling us exactly what it is they are working on and have worked hard to improve each offseason. And they have spent a hell of a lot of time talking about how much bigger they got up front, what they've changed schematically, all in effort to change their ability to stop the run. If you can't do that, if you can't impose your will, like you said, against an offensive line that's bringing in 3 collective collegiate starts and no returning starters, who are we going to do it against? Again, and I all the respect to Miami of Ohio, like they're not a throwaway opponent by any stretch. But this is a team where if we are going to compete with the teams that we want to be competing with and take that step, like I need to see, Ben Barton as the zero tech eating people up, freeing up linebackers. I need Perkins to generate some pressure. Javier Suggs, he was someone who generated pressure at LSU. He was a rotational guy, but at a pretty high rate. He was a really highly graded pass rusher at LSU. And so these are guys that I think have to create a little bit of pressure on their own, not just free people up, but in the run game, we've got to be able to shut it down. I don't know exactly what that looks like. I don't really care about the final rushing total. But I think that we need to see something well above average, especially in that department.
Yeah, you touched on it. I think you touched on it too with like when you said Barton playing the zero tech, because we've heard him say that a lot in interviews. Kedrick, you talked about it this morning too on your depth chart piece. Like, I feel like they have more guys on the defensive side that are there to do a specific job and play a specific role. And like we said, like Rieger is supposed to be an insane pass rush, like a very good pass rush specialist. Like, I want to see them, as much as I just said, if you have 8, you have none. I want to see the guys that are there to play their role, do their role, and play that, do that job and be good at it and be dominant at it. Like that's what I'd be like, get them into 3rd and long and let Rieger let loose. Maybe Nick Clayton gets to play a little bit. Maybe we see Allegro and Curtis just dominate at that second level. Like I want to see the guys do their job that they're there to do.
I think the undercurrent of these two threads, Dylan and Jay, and I didn't mention this on the show earlier either, is there is a sequencing question that makes those two things work, though, right? Because if you're relying on a Mason Rieger, on a JVR to come in or not JVR, Sebastian Sheeks, whoever, to come in on 3rd and long, 3rd and medium, and pass rush. Well, those guys who are up there to stop the run got to get them to 3rd and long, 3rd and medium first, right? Like those pass rushers are only going to be made by their ability to stop the run in the first place. And that's where I think they have a bigger need to prove it early on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to be disruptive, it has to start there. It's why Wisconsin's defense was as successful as it was for as long as it was.
Yeah. All I have to add is, Jay, you make a good point about the oars. That shit does kind of irritate me too. And I know I kind of championed our maybe defensive line depth over O-line, but with the oar, it is the point where it's like, okay, do you have a bunch of good talent, or do you have no top end talent, you know? And
I also feel like we've seen Orr.
I get every school does it, but it worries me still.
I think that's my take with this defense is I don't think there are many star caliber players. I think they have a greater number of good players than they did a year ago. And I think
that can work.
It can work. I think that they are here, like Jay said, to play very specific roles. And I think that this is going to be a very package heavy defense. And it's going to be a matter of, can you get yourself to those situations to let those guys flourish the things that they're good at? And if they can, I do think they have a diversity of skill sets that could allow for them to be way more disruptive and to put together a good defense when we can feel pretty good about, where you can have a guy like Mason Reiger and Austin Brown and Zachman and maybe even Hallman out there making more plays. Like there are guys who can make these plays, but it's going to take all of the ancillary pieces around them doing their jobs, like Jay said. And I think that there's enough here that they can play to what the offense is presenting. And I'm hopeful that it's going to work out that way.
All right. Sounds like it is time for us to move along to some more specific talk about the upcoming opponent for the Wisconsin Badgers football team. Miami of Ohio Redhawks. Dequan Finn, the headliner at quarterback. A defense that doesn't return a lot. An offense that doesn't return any of its top 5 receivers. You have to go all the way down to 6 to find anybody. They returned 1 receiver who was any kind of a producer for them last year. Coop, does the lack of returning production on this Miami team give you any more confidence in Wisconsin to come out in this game and potentially dominate early?
No.
Okay, please explain.
Once again, another thing Dylan and I talked about this weekend, and I'm going to take Miami plus 17.5, I think. The Badgers love to start slow. I mean, we even saw it against Buffalo was that 2 years ago? South Dakota, yeah. Like the Badgers love to start slow. Dequan Finn might be able to do just enough to keep them in the game until the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And I mean, their defense, I think, only returns like 5 starters. I forget his name. I should have wrote it down. They do have a cornerback, though, who's like a quite good player, just from doing my, I guess, minimal research. Like I said, I should have wrote his name down. But I don't know. Do I think the Badgers are going to win? Yes. Do I think Miami covers the 17.5? Yes. And is it going to piss me off? Yes. So we'll see how that goes. But like I said, I think they're just good enough, especially if Dequan Finn can play average to above average to hang in this game for longer than they probably should due to the talent disparity between the two programs. But that's where I'm at, I guess.
Dylan?
Yeah, I would say that I kind of fall in a really similar place. What I expect to see out of Wisconsin is a slower start. I mean, this is a team who's putting together a lot of new pieces, playing in a new offensive scheme, new defensive scheme for that matter. I do think Wisconsin probably wins this game convincingly, in the sense that like we never really fear that the game is that we're in danger of losing it. I would not be shocked with like a 24-10 victory. I'm not in any way really fearful that Miami of Ohio is going to beat Wisconsin. I do think that, Dequan Finn, he's a playmaker. Like they were picked second in the MAC. Like they're not a throwaway team. I think they're going to be able to play football with us for a half, and then we'll see what happens after that. But I Wisconsin should be able to accomplish whatever it is that their game plan is, and if that's running down their throat, they should be able to do that. What I would really love to see is Billy Edwards. Like I don't really care about the numbers at all. I want to see efficiency. Like I just want to see 15 of 21 passing for 180 yards and a score, no turnovers. Like that's all I want to see from Billy most weeks. And not necessarily maybe that high of a completion percentage. That might be unrealistic, but just on time, on schedule. Like a lot of times people laud someone's ability to extend plays and playoff script, and that show me an offensive coordinator who wants that to happen, because there isn't one. The offensive coordinator has a design. They want that ball out of their fucking hand at a certain time, and they want it in someone's hands. I just want to feel like, that there's no procedural penalties. That's going to be really huge. There's a lot of motion in this offense. There's going to be a lot of shifting, and that's not something that they just do sometimes. Like that's going to be an all the time kind of staple. And I just want to see discipline. I want to see them on time, and I can kind of live with the rest if the score isn't particularly impressive. Like I said, if it ends up 24-10, but I feel like, there were not a lot of penalties. Edwards was getting to the right guys. He worked through his progressions. If that first option wasn't there, there were enough holes for the running backs. Like the defense stops the run. I'll be really pleased if all of those things kind of culminate. But I'm not fearful about losing. I think there are certain things I need to see to feel good about. And it's a lot of just the fundamentals, if I'm being honest.
I need to see Billy Edwards be Alex Smith. That's all we need. Make completions when you need to. Manage the game. Don't turn the ball over. Like that's all I need. But like this game reminds me of like a UFC fight where someone has control for 22 out of like the 25 minutes, and it's like, okay, like maybe it wasn't an exciting fight. Like the other guy held in longer than maybe he should have, but this dude still dominated him and had control for 22 minutes. That's how I feel like this game's going to go. Like you're never going to worry about the Badgers, but Miami of Ohio might hang around just enough for you to be like, fuck,
I think it might take a series or two, but I think that the offensive line is going to I think they're going to be able to lean on a team. Like Ed said, it's an inexperienced defense. And I think, again, Jeff Grimes schematically is a lot different than what we saw last year. And I think he was really good at Kansas in his time with, I would say probably lesser talent at Kansas than Wisconsin. So I think that the offense is going to be able to figure out. Where I don't have as much confidence is like you guys said, like Dequan Finn. The Badgers weren't necessarily great with mobile quarterbacks last year. And if Dequan Finn, I'd like to see how they handle him getting outside the pocket. If they can handle that, if they can get quick 3 and outs, that's going to just every stop obviously is going to make that confidence for the defense go up. And it's the same, confidence is going to be a big thing. And the X factor is I will be in attendance. So
it's definitely going to be a close game.
You buried the lead.
No. It's going to be a blowout. I might.
But me too. Like you talk about the scheme change, like we're about to run the ball way more. Yeah, so we're going to have longer drives. That's too where it's like where Miami might hang around and it seems closer than it is. But the time of possession could be a massive difference. And that says a lot to me in a football game.
If you had to take your pick of a Billy Edwards Jr. or a Dequan Finn, who might you want quarterbacking your football team?
Dequan Finn. Obvious.
I'm a roll with Billy, and I think that he just represents a ton of stability and you can say till you're blue in the face, but like the leadership piece, like I do think that there's something to being able to walk into a program knowing you're going to be there no more than maybe 6 to 8 months and being able to kind of win over a locker room full of guys who have been there and bring together people who haven't. I'm not expecting the world, but I think that he's going to be well above average, and that's something that this offense desperately needs. Maybe what you give up in ceiling, I think I'm okay with a floor raiser.
Yeah, last year, Dequan Finn. This year, I think Billy Edwards is what this team needs right now.
I think that's a fair answer, Jay. I'm going to go to Dylan to start off this one. I kind of wanted to dub this segment like some push-pull between confidence and concern that you might have on the team. And I think one place where there is a potential here is Nazir Forkreen is not going to play in this game, absent some crazy things happening in the next 36 hours.
I will throat whoever I need to.
And that's what we needed back.
Oh my god. Okay.
I think the issue with that statement is that like that's to push for like bowl eligibility.
Yeah. For 5 wins, dude, I'll do some nasty things, dog. You'll see a whole new side of me.
Oh my god. Okay. So Miami brought in
Call yourself
Miami brings in 4 wide receiver transfers from Power 4 programs this season. Meanwhile, Wisconsin's going to be relying on some young or otherwise inexperienced talent who also were not necessarily getting all of the first team reps as they allowed Nazir to run scout team at camp. Dylan, do you have any concerns about a guy like a Kairos Gaines, an Emilio Agard, freshmen coming in here potentially against, other relatively highly ranked guys who might have some more experience than they do in college football setting?
I'm going to say no. I'm not particularly concerned against Miami, Ohio. I think that I actually have a good amount of confidence in Emilio Agard. This is a former blue chip recruit. Obviously he doesn't necessarily bring what you might classify as like your ideal size of the position. But I think that and I thought this, on his high school film, like he flips his hips really well. I think that he's really technically sound. He's not afraid to kind of get in the mix and there, try to make a play on the ball. He's somebody who I think that, I don't know if this is fair, but maybe like could represent Ricardo Holman as like a red shirt freshman or whatever. He kind of got his feet wet and like had some moments, and then also had a couple of bad games. Obviously you think about a Michigan State, but like, I think that Emilio Agard is someone who's going to be able to play really meaningful snaps right away. Obviously you got Deone Hill, who, I think is a really interesting case. I think Luke Fickell, in not so many words, when he referenced that when Nazir Forkreen, that whole situation kind of unfolded, kind of alluded to Deone Hill not necessarily being particularly impressive to him during the spring, and that when the opportunity knocked and he kind of turned it up and did some things. And I think the two of them offer different skill sets that in some ways can complement one another. And I think that you're going to get replacement level play there, at worst. I don't know that there's a ton of ceiling there. A Kairos Gaines, I don't think we're going to see a ton of. I know that in theory, he's kind of the next man in behind Ricardo Hallman, but how much are they going to take him off the field? I think if you steal a few snaps, Gaines brings really good size. I think they're going to be fine. I think Ricardo Hallman's obviously a stud and someone who can make a lot of plays. I think you'll get adequate play on the opposite side, and I think I'm at peace with that.
Yeah, I would say I think it's contingent on what the rest of the defense. I know you're asking specifically about the DBs, but I think like I was kind of alluding to before, like if everybody does their job, like if the front seven is getting pressure on the quarterback, If Dequan Finn's running around all day extending the play, that's going to be tough for any defense, let alone a really young one. But I think like with the experience of Zachman and like, you know, the safeties that we have, I think that they can provide some help. And if our D line is fresh, rotated, getting pressure on the quarterback, putting them in situations, I'm not too concerned about the defensive backs on that regard.
Sorry. Go ahead. No, go
ahead.
All right.
All right, I'll go again.
All right, I'll go. I'm with Jay. I'm not uber concerned, but I know Preston Zachman is going to do 2 to 3 things a game that just drive me up a fucking wall. And I'll probably be calling for his head a couple times this year when he might not deserve it. But that's my biggest concern is just how much he's probably going to give me an ulcer. He's going to fucking make me so angry this year by doing some stupid ass shit.
Why is that? You have a game you like to point to?
No, I just feel like every game, maybe it's only once a game, where he just does something. It's like, dude, what in the flying fuck are you doing right now?
They have a lot of confidence
maybe it's just me.
in that back end of the defense. Clearly, this staff does, and it's not just in Zachman and Austin Brown. It's also in these other guys.
I mean,
Matt Young, maybe.
Yeah. Staff has a lot of confidence there. One place, and that's a veteran-laden part. One place where I'm curious to see how much run some of these young guys get. There are 5 true freshmen on this 2 deep, and where there are notably 2 of them is at inside linebacker Mason Posa and Cooper Catalano. I think this is a fascinating test when you have a veteran 7th-year mobile quarterback in Dequan Finn just waiting. How much do any of you actually anticipate them getting real run here and a real chance to prove it against what is at the very least a quality quarterback that I think a guy, like a Cooper Catalano and Mason Posa are the sideline to sideline speed prototype inside linebackers that you want out there, or at least being able to show early that they can compete with.
It's super interesting. I mean, obviously, those are guys that you would expect at worst, they're going to be special teams contributors. But Luke Fickell was super intentional about saying like they're going to have roles on this defense. And, again, you can say that about a lot of guys early on, and that rarely proves to be true. But in the first couple of games, if you don't see, a notable snap count, then, then it's going to then we know for a fact they're not going to be significant contributors. But I think they've gone out of their way, and I think they've also learned some lessons that if you don't play guys in years 1 and 2, like the grass is going to seem greener, and they might potentially lose them. And I think they look at those 2 guys, and I think inside linebacker is a spot that they feel great about. Like you really like your starters. I think there's a ton of reason to feel great about them, and how much do you want to take them off the field? But I think you also look behind them with Catalano and with Mason Posa, and you're like, well, that's also the future. And we think they can give us something now. And so I don't know how much, I think I would be shocked if it was drastically more than maybe 5 apiece, because they also listed Thomas Heiberger as the preferred backup. And they spoke really highly of his transition there behind Tackett Curtis. And, it's just a depth chart. We'll see by what their actions are going to tell us what they actually think. The depth chart doesn't. If one of them may see double-digit snaps, and I think that would speak to how highly they do think of them, but the staff loves them, and I think that they've learned a lesson. And if you're not going to play them a little bit more against a team like Miami of Ohio, where's their role going to come in when you go to Tuscaloosa? So I don't know it's going to be significant, but I think you absolutely have to get them on the field if there's any plan for them to have, a notable enough role.
No, yeah, and I agree. And I think if they see increased snaps, maybe I'll be more concerned.
I was going to say the same thing.
Because that's likely to mean Dequan Finn's probably having a pretty good day on the ground.
Our defense is on the field all day if they're playing.
Yeah.
I feel like, but yeah.
No, yeah, go ahead, Jay, because that's where I'm at.
That's exactly what I think, Dylan, you said it at the end there. I think they have to play a little bit because they have to get their feet wet, and they have to carve out some role maybe if they're going to contribute in the bigger games, in the Big Ten season, because they're probably going to be needed. Just like people are going to get banged up, or there's going to be long drives. They're going to need to be in there. But I think if we're seeing a lot of them, that's where I would have a little bit of concern that like we're just not getting off the field at all.
100% agree.
Fair enough. Let's go the opposite way around this time for one of the closing questions. We wrap up a little bit here. Coop, why don't you start with giving me one thing you're confident Wisconsin's going to be able to do in this game and one thing you are concerned about their ability to do in this game?
Well, I'll probably steal
or just
at least one person's.
Yeah.
But one thing I'm confident we'll be able to do is run the ball.
God damn it.
One thing I'm not confident we're going to be able to do is stop the run. I know, guys, wild takes here. I'm going out on a limb, but that's where I'm at.
Fair. The last season was the first time in a decade that this team gave up more yards per carry than it gained. So
yeah.
Jay?
Yeah, I'm not going to be Eilers and predict a 40 burger, but I will predict that the Badgers can run for 300 yards in this game, 300 plus yards in this game. I think they'll be able to run the ball like Coop said. And this is going to be crazy because I'm totally going to differ when I say I don't know if the Badgers will be able to stop the run.
Dude, that's wild.
Allow me to be the first to say. Allow me to be the first to say I don't know if the Badgers will be able to stop the run.
Miami's two like projected top running backs in this game, Kenny Tracy and Jordan Brunson. Tracy tore his ACL.
Tracy came back, yeah.
Yeah, he tore his ACL in camp in 2024. But the last two most recent seasons, either of those guys have played college football. They each averaged over 5 yards per carry.
Yeah, coupled with a very mobile quarterback.
Yeah, like cause for concern, boys. That's why we're Miami plus 17.5. I'll eat the shit if I have to.
Dylan, confidence and concern?
My confidence is that we are going to force at least 2 turnovers in this game. I think they're going to be really intentional about what is the point in holding any punches against any opponent in a season like this. There's really no point in hiding anything. You need to bring the fight to them. And if this is going to be your culture, if this is what you're going to talk about, then it starts on Thursday and there's nothing to hold back. And so a defense that only forced 4 turnovers all year, I'm confident they're going to force at least 2. And the thing I'm not confident in is Nathaniel Vakos hitting a field goal between 30 and 49 yards because he was under 50% a year ago. And I don't care what they did during camp. Obviously Gavin Lom pushed him and they're going to roll with Vakos. Or at the end of the day, I don't really care what you do in practice too much if it doesn't also translate into the field. And so I'm not confident in what we can do if we have to lean on special teams.
I love that you said that though, Dylan, because there is nothing to hide. You're not hiding anything from Bama, Michigan, or any of those teams. Put your dick on the table and just fucking go win.
And I think the staff knows that.
Yeah.
Luke said as much. I mean, not the.
He said
not putting his hammer on the table.
I'm about to put my hammer on the fucking table, dude.
He did it to the podium, I heard. Yeah.
But I don't remember
it was prosthetic.
Who asked him yesterday, but he was
about his dick.
I think it was Steve from the AP. Asked
Steve's a freak, dog.
How do you balance maybe wanting to keep some stuff in the clip versus spraying it all out there?
Whoa! I didn't know Ken had that in his bag. I wasn't familiar with the game.
And Luke was like, "No, we don't have time. We can't afford to hold anything back." He also later, when asked about wanting potentially to go out and make a statement in week 1 and really roll these guys off the field, he was like, "We don't want to overpromise and underdeliver here." It felt like a lesson learned from him, where I don't think they're going to try to do anything cute. I think they're going to run the offense. I think they are going to do what they want to do on defense. And maybe that includes some trickiness, which I think is just built into this offense by design, right? I don't think they're going to hold back in week 1, probably not in week 2, because they can't afford to hold back just in hopes of getting a shocking win in week 3.
Every game matters every week for this football team, and they know that, and there's a lot of reasons behind that. And I think you're spot on when you say that there's a lesson learned. I think that I mean, it just starts at the top. Luke Fickell has been humbled coming here. I mean, a lot of the philosophy he brought with him has proven to have been a miscalculation. And I also think that, like, credit to him for learning from that. I mean, as a head coach, a lot of times they find a certain amount of success and remain kind of stuck in their ways. And, you know, you can look across to the Kohl Center at Greg Gard and see how he was willing to adapt with the times and kind of go outside of his box, and the success that followed. And I'm not suggesting that that's what's going to happen with the football program, but I mean, he was able to look at, hey, here are our shortcomings. We need to fix these things. They have made a concerted effort to fix those things. I think there have been lessons learned, you know, and we'll see. But I absolutely think that they've been humbled, and I think they learned the right lessons. Just a matter of whether or not it's going to be enough.
One of the biggest things to me will be, does he get rid of the team vest? That's got to go.
It's on my radar, dude. Will there be a game without the team vest this year?
It's got to go. You can't corporate America college football. That's not football guy shit.
I don't think you can risk running on that field on Thursday night with that on your body. I don't. I think that will tell me everything about how this season ends.
Eilers might burn the place down
if he runs out there without it.
Hey, he was posting positively about the Arch March today. Let's not tease him too bad.
Ryan was?
Yeah, he was. It's like the greatest.
Dude, he was about to set that thing on fire and hire a hitman for Luke Fickell because he wouldn't dap his son up. I'll put him on blast. I don't give a fuck, dude.
What I will say is, if Luke Fickell takes the field without a team vest on Thursday, I'll sing a very different tune when we come back here to talk about how that football game went, because I'll believe we have a chance.
What if he doesn't wear it and they lose?
I'll still trust in his process more than ever, because it tells me he's learned from his mistakes. You're gonna lose football games. That's part of it, but it'll show me he has learned from his mistakes.
If I see him run out of the tunnel without that team vest on, I might put in my entire paycheck on the Wisconsin Badgers to cover 17.5.
You goddamn right.
That speaks volumes.
Is he going to wear a hat? Also on my radar. He tried that out during fall camp. I'm not convinced that he's committed to that bit. I also don't think you can become a hat guy that late in life.
I was just about to say that, Dylan. If he becomes a backwards hat guy, not to go all Colin Cowherd, but if you become a backwards hat guy that late in life, you got some fucking issues up here, brother. Jason, no offense that you have your hat backwards, but
I look hot as hell. So
you look so. You don't want to talk about me throating, dog. You're lucky I don't jump through this laptop or this iPad.
Not this again. God damn.
Two quick things. One, Ryan Eilers has hit the chat.
Yeah. Two quick things. Me and Jay, baby.
Saying guys look good. No news on whether or not they put up a 40 burger against Monona White tonight, but I'm sure we'll hear.
Monona White was so good.
Okay. Does Wisconsin have a lead of a touchdown or greater at halftime on Thursday night? Let's get a quick yes or no, guys, because that was the thing. In week 1, the last 2 years, they have not.
Yes.
Jay says yes.
Yes.
I say yes.
Okay. Dylan?
I'm prepared to say sure.
Come back to me when I see Luke Fickell's apparel pregame, I suppose. No, I'm going to say yes. I think they lead by 7. I don't think more than that, but I think they lead by 7.
Yeah. I think 3 or 7. Yeah.
Yeah, 3 touchdowns are
apparently the Eilers boys finally got a shutout. It's 22 zip. So congratulations to Mr. Eilers.
Hell yeah. Fucking Monroe White dog.
Strong side.
Coop, do you have a geography fact to take us out today?
I actually do not. I was not prepared with the geography fact.
Wow.
I'm prepared with a word fact, though.
Oh, all right, let's do it.
And I learned this the other day playing Wordle. I'm on like a 42-day streak. No big deal. Got stumbled on one Sunday when I had a couple too many highlights, but what do you do? Mirth. Didn't know it was a word. I think it took me 5 tries to get it. I guessed girth first, obviously.
Naturally.
And then birth. And then I literally entered in every other single letter I had available. And I came across mirth. So then I Googled what mirth was. And mirth is basically amusement. So we've been using that at work the past couple of days, trying to incorporate that in all our vocabulary. Like, I woke up with a lot of mirth today, you know. I was amused. My mirth was strong. Like, I want you to mirth on my face, you know, things like that. So yeah, that's our word of the day. No geography, but we got word of the day.
Well,
mirth.
It's been a pretty mirthy episode of Talkin Badgers as we lead into an hour here. For Dylan Kraft, Jason Long, Coop, I'm Kendrick Stummeris. You can find more of us at badgernotes.com. Oh, I almost forgot to mention, if you want a free game chat to chat with us during the game on Thursday night, there's a link in the show description to join our message board partners over at Bucky'sboro. Join our live game chat for free on Thursday night. Great place. I know Dylan will be in there. I will probably be preoccupied with work, but hey, that's life. We will be back on Thursday night as well, immediately post game. At least Dylan and I will be there to go live. So when we see you all again on Wisconsin, and stay tuned to us here at Talkin Badgers.